Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Boston Boys Sports. I am, of course, one of the three members of the Boston Boys Sports Talk podcast. I am, of course, the King, Eli Horrigan, and I am with the best beard in the business, Kiefer Bontos. Kiefer, my guy, what's up?
Oh, man. It's always a pleasure jumping back on with you, buddy.
Oh, man, I love it. And, of course, we're missing Steve. We hope he's back soon. We will see him soon. He apologizes that he couldn't be with us again tonight, but soon enough, Stevie, we'll have you back. We need your stats and we need your input. It's always fun with the three of us. Of course, we're partnered with Jones and for Sports. We make sports better. Check them out on X. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. They are putting out great quality content every single day. And today, obviously, we're going to do our three duds, our three studs. We'll start with our studs as always. Our power rankings for our top three. The Patriots, where they land. Are they still stuck at 32? We also are going to have some Celtics talk, and I put my GM hat on. I've come up with some trades for the NFL trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, and Kiefer's going to tell me if I'm out of my mind or if they make sense. Kiefer, let's start right off with the studs. Who was your number one stud from the last week?
So I had to stop you there because I have to say this right now. Jameis Winston is my number one stud.
All right, preach, my guy.
He beat Baltimore, which me and you both said Baltimore could have been number one or two in the power rankings last week. Mm-hmm. He went 27 of 41, 334, 3 touchdowns, and beat one of the best defenses in the league.
One of the best run defenses.
I got signs in my head right now that saying you should have started him from the beginning of the season. Maybe you shouldn't have traded Amani Cooper, and maybe your team direction would be going different places right now.
I don't think you're wrong at all, and I'm not going to argue because Jameis Winston made my list as well. He was my number 3 stud. You know how I like a good backup quarterback story. I had Mariota last week, and I kept Jameis for this purpose because I will say this, we were flush with choices for studs this week. There was a lot of guys. I had a list about 7 deep, and I'm like, I gotta keep it to 3, and I kept Jameis because of that. This guy. He floundered in Tampa Bay, and then he goes to New Orleans, and he wasn't great there either. And he's been holding a clipboard for a long time now, and he's been stuck in a position as a backup. And then he comes in after a brutal injury, and like you said, we both thought the Baltimore Ravens might be the most complete team in the NFL, and Jameis Winston looked good. I mean, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers by this guy. I mean, and Jameis Winston, who's been a turnover machine in his career, he just played poised football, and who knows what's going on? Maybe Cleveland can make a run at a wild card spot.
Well, that's what they're talking about, and I look at the Jameis Winston thing with the turnover thing in New Orleans. I think he did 2 seasons in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. Right? It was 2 seasons.
Yeah, he had 2.
The second season in New Orleans, when he played a little bit more, he had that offseason, he got corrective eye surgery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it really helped him, but it looks like it might have done something for him. I think the kid can throw. He threw for almost 5,000 yards. He threw for 40 touchdowns or something like that one year. Granted, he had 30 picks that year, but he has talent. And I'm really glad to see him bring a team that you thought was everybody thought was one of the dumpster fires in the NFL and beat one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I really love what Jameis Winston did this week. So we agree there. We both have one of the same. I have a strong feeling that we're going to have 2 of the same guys. So who's your number 2?
I don't want to butcher his first name. Is it Jabari Gibbs? Jabari Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs from
Jahmyr Gibbs. There we go. I butchered it. Sorry, buddy. 11 attempts. He had a 70-yard rush, 127 yards, a touchdown. That offense looks phenomenal. They have a 2-headed monster at running back. Goff doesn't need to throw for 300 yards, and he'll still throw 3 touchdowns. Having them 2 with him and Montgomery on that squad is a perfect combination for that team, and I thought that was a good second pick.
Absolutely. I did not have him, so this is not who I thought we were going to have. But yeah, Jared Goff throws for under 100 yards and has 3 touchdown passes. I mean, that right there tells you just how dominant Detroit is. This guy is throwing for, I think it was 90 yards, 85 yards, 80 yards. It was in that
It was
neighborhood.
80. It was 85 yards and 3 touchdowns, and only 2
That
missed.
tells I mean, that tells you how good this team is. They can beat you in so many different ways. And I want to see, not that the Titans are good, and I don't expect the Titans to win, but I want to see if the Lions hangover affects how bad it affects the Titans, because every team has felt the Lions hangover. And let's see what it does to the Titans this weekend, because that is a bad team. And we'll find out just how bad when we do our Patriots power ranking. But a great pick. Love Jahmyr Gibbs. I love what Dan Campbell and that offensive rushing game has done, because Montgomery's a guy, when he went there too, I kind of thought, like, why did you bring him in and then draft Gibbs? And they have been maybe the best 1-2 punch in the whole league.
Completely agree.
All right. Well, my number one, because my number 3 was Jameis Winston, was Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love gets hurt again. Malik Willis has to come in again. And Josh Jacobs, I mean, could he make the Raiders look any worse? 25 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he helps lead the Packers to another win without their very good starting quarterback, who I predicted to have a great season, and he keeps getting hurt. Who knows how long he's out for this time? But man, Josh Jacobs has been really good in Green Bay.
No, I think that was the smartest move Green Bay did, was going after Jacobs, because I didn't think he was washed. I think the Raiders are just that bad.
The Raiders just make bad move after bad move after bad move. I mean,
we season last year, and going to Green Bay was the best thing he could have did. I'm all for it. I love that pick. I think he is having a great season on top of it. So that's a good pick.
Absolutely. All right. And so we're going to go to your final one. Let's both have the same final one. Tell me you got Jaden Daniels.
It's Jalen Daniels.
That's my guy.
Okay, listen, buddy. I watched that game. I'm watching it on Red Zone. I switch over. Caleb Williams drives. They score. What do they have, like 27 seconds left?
Yeah, not much.
Not much. This guy drops back all the time in the world. That offensive line was holding them up, all the time, running around in circles, going there, looking, throws a 50, 60-yard bomb to get tipped, and the guy in the back was catching it. They left him free. They should have never did that. That's bad defensive plays right now. The Chicago defense, that guy was over on the side chanting, and then he was supposed to be covering that man, and instead he ran to the circle. That's all their fault, but that was a throw. 21 of 38, 326 and a touchdown, and a Hail Mary to win the game. This kid's legit. He's probably the best rookie in the NFL. He's probably one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Agree with all that. Stevie will tell you when he's back on. This is when he was at LSU, and I said to Steve, this is in the middle of LSU's season, before Daniels was super hyped. I said, Jaden Daniels is quietly the best quarterback prospect, and I hope the Patriots can steal him in the second round. Now, that turned out to be not so true, because then he goes on to be as great as he was as LSU. Everyone realizes he's good. I still wanted Jaden Daniels. I think we all wanted Jaden Daniels. And honestly, we'll talk about Drake May. I'm not unhappy with Drake May at this point. I like Drake May at this point. You're not going to push me off the Joe Alt take yet, but I actually think you have something to build with Drake May. But back to Jaden Daniels, the Hail Mary was what sealed it for me. Without that Hail Mary, he's not on my stud list. But the guy, he made it. He made the throw happen, and we'll jump right into our duds, because my number one dud was Tyreek Stevenson. The whole world knows that a Hail Mary is coming, and instead of being focused, he's taunting, or in his words, celebrating with fans. Celebrating what? The game's not over, dude. And then he sprints across the field, and he does a palm up pat and just tips it right to, who's the wide receiver? It was Noah Brown. He tips it right to Noah Brown. And now we're talking about the Bears at this point had he made the play that he should have made if he was focused, the Bears would be 5-2. Okay, in a stacked division, they would be one game out of first, and instead, now they're at the bottom of that division. Right, they're 4-3, and I don't see a path now for a wild card spot. It becomes a lot harder for them. So Tyreek Stevenson could have just cost the Bears a playoff spot. And I know that seems so crazy to say, like halfway through the season, but that's a game you have to win.
Oh, completely. You needed to win that game.
All right. So
Caleb Williams showed some. He didn't have great stats, but he showed some grit at the end of that game. He did.
Yeah, I agree. His line wasn't fantastic, but I've liked what Caleb Williams has done, like kind of every step of the way. But if you're Tyreek Stevenson, this Bears defense is good too. That's a good Bears defense. You have to. Everyone knows it's coming. Bat the ball down. I mean, I've never seen a worse play from a defender who's got a palm up and taps it like that. The point is to come down on the ball, not tap it up.
No, I agree. It was just it was bad. I don't want to say bad sportsmanship because he was trying to like, oh, we're winning this game now, blah, blah, blah. But it just wasn't the right thing when you know there's a Hail Mary coming. We've seen it with Aaron Rodgers when he was with the Packers. You just don't count out those passes. You just don't. And they did. And they messed it all up. And Jalen Daniels took advantage and just heaved it with all of his might. And he had bruised ribs or something like that. That's not an easy pass to throw.
No.
Right there in itself. And he was out there still playing. So I give him props. That was a great game.
All right. So, but I jumped right into our duds. Josh Jacobs, Jaden Daniels, Jameis Winston were my studs. Comment, like, subscribe, think about who your studs were and tell us. Kiefer, your studs were Daniels, Winston, and
Gibbs.
And Jahmyr Gibbs. That's right. Of course, jumping right into the duds now. I had Tyreek Stevenson. Did Tyreek Stevenson make your list?
No, I actually went a different route this week. And
okay.
And usually I pick a player and I'll leave him in there and that's how I do it. But I did this different. My first one is the Cowboys. They suck. Cowboys as a whole. I'm sorry if you're a Cowboys fan, anybody that watches this, but you guys suck. That team is awful. Fire Mike McCarthy. Fire the whole staff. You have all that talent, all that paid talent, and you didn't win. You suck. With an injured 49ers team. Injured. The whole team is decimated right now. Cowboys suck.
I'm laughing when you say it because I'm going to read to you. The Cowboys minus CeeDee Lamb is on my list. Because CeeDee Lamb is so fucking good. That dude is balls. He's all balls. Like, somebody go get that man and save him from Dallas. And my write-up for this was the 49ers are a complete mess right now. They can't get healthy as a team to save their life, right? And the Cowboys carry a 10-6 lead into the half, okay? And in the second half, they let up a touchdown on the opening drive. Then Dak throws his second pick of the game. The 49ers turn that into a George Kittle touchdown to make it 20-10. Dallas follows that up with a 3-and-out. And then San Francisco goes down again and scores another touchdown. And they're down 27-10, okay? And furthermore, the Cowboys' rushing attack is non-existent. And we'll talk about this later. We had it in our text chain. They rushed for 56 yards. In fact, in their 7 games, they've only rushed for 100 yards twice. No running back on that team has single-handedly hit 100 yards. Okay, their leading rusher every week, their numbers are as follows: 40, 30, 32, 46, 87, 25, 34. The Cowboys have CeeDee Lamb, 13 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And everyone knows they're passing. This guy is a magnet for the ball. The 3 and 4 Cowboys need to wake up and call someone. In November, they have Atlanta, okay, versus Philly, versus Houston, at Washington, versus the Giants. They could be 4-8 going into December.
No, They're awful.
They
can't.
suck.
They're not. Their schedule gives them no favors. They lost to an injured 49er team. Like I said, they 49. You said it. They're decimated. They can't think about what's going on, who's going to be there, what's going on. They say Ayuk gets injured. Christian McCaffrey's out. They said actually McCaffrey might be back week 7. I don't know if that's true.
No, because week 7 came.
No,
It's week 8.
Sorry, 8. They were talking about at the beginning of the week. Shanahan said something about McCaffrey might be ready to go. I call bullshit. I don't think he's ready yet. I think it's all smoke fire. Purdy is keeping the team afloat as best he can with injuries there, and Kittle is actually stepping up big time. And I'll say that, but the Cowboys are awful.
The Cowboys are. This is a team who, like, we always expect, they'll win 12 games and then they'll fold in the playoffs. They're not winning 12 games. They might not. We said it a couple podcasts ago. I don't think they make the playoffs. They're not showing me anything. So I completely agree. I had the Cowboys as well, minus CD Lamb, my guy CD, who is.
Yeah, no, I didn't minus him just because I think they suck all around. So that's all right.
All right. So who is your second dud?
So now I'm going to go back again to the same kind of concept. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, Miami Dolphins. Yeah, they do. But go ahead.
Yeah, you got Tua coming back. You would think that the wide receivers are going to wake up a little bit more. You would think that the team is going to wake up a little bit more because they've had such bad quarterback play. Nothing shows that they are. I don't think this team is it anymore. They're not that. They don't look fast. They don't look good on the field. Just all around, they don't look like themselves. You went from a team that dropped 70 last year or the year before? It was last year, right?
Yeah, that was last year.
They dropped 70 points last year, and they're not scoring anywhere near 30 at this time. And then losing Tua coming back. Good to see him start sliding in that game. I'll take that. He's actually sliding now, not to get racked and lit up and all that. That he should have been doing that in the first place. But either way, they suck too. This is a weird season, and I didn't expect the Dolphins to be this bad, and they're that bad.
I think I will credit the Dolphins being this bad to the fact that they lost Tua early on, and I think they've all given up. I do. I just think there's no fight in this team. They got Tua back, and I agree with you. Like, I was like, all right, they got Tua back. Maybe we'll see something out of them. You lose to the Cardinals. I believe they were at home too, right? And
yeah,
it was.
They were up going into the half.
They were up going into the half, and at one point they were up in the fourth quarter. And didn't Arizona go down and score?
Arizona went down and scored.
Yeah, I believe actually our guy who was the kicker last year. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Chad Ryland.
Chad Ryland. He had another game-winning field goal, correct?
Correct.
That's Chad Ryland. We used to call him Nails Ryland here. I mean, the guy never missed in New England. Well, 50% of the time he did. But we go to Arizona, the weather's different out there. He's got a warm leg now. So I agree. This team looks like a team that's quit. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see Tyreek Hill moved. Is that a spoiler? It's not. But I agree with you. And so I'm going to go with my third dud then. Perhaps the worst quarterback in the league, Anthony Richardson. Richardson. There's no doubt about it. He's the worst quarterback in the league. They're going back to Flacco, as they should. 10 for 32. But the real story is this. Tapping out in a drive. And it looked like maybe he re-injured something. And then after the game, he's asked about it. And he says, I ain't going to lie. There was a lot of running and I was tired. Professionally, he's a loser. The guy is a loser professionally, okay? That quote sums it up. He was drafted on potential. Steve wrote a story before this draft, calling it draft diversions. He used draft diversion 101. He was 13-11 at the University of Florida. He's 5-5 at Indy. He can't stay healthy. And now he's tapping out of games because he's tired. Loser, capital L, capital O, capital S, capital E, capital R. Anthony Richardson should be done playing football in the NFL. He's terrible. Go to the XFL.
I'm not going to disagree with you, buddy, because I picked Anthony Richardson / the Houston Texans.
Okay.
And now I'm going to say this for a reason. How do you play that bad against a quarterback that went 10 for 32, 175, one touchdown, one pick?
Yeah. Yeah.
With a
Well,
team that's supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL right now.
CJ Stroud.
Awful.
CJ Stroud's kind of, is this the sophomore slump that we're seeing? I know he's lost Nico Collins and he's lost Stephon Diggs, but I know we try not to look a week ahead, but obviously they played the Jets last night. They lose to the Jets, a team that couldn't beat the Patriots. So this is a real regression. The Texans are now, like, I think the Colts, they're 2 games back now, I think, from Houston with Joe Flacco. They could win the division. I'm not sold on the Texans at all anymore. This is a team that's soft. And one of the things I can't agree more, and I'll go on a little soapbox here. When the Texans were playing the Pats and Drake May looked kind of okay, and Steve was like, well, they're just playing soft coverage because they don't have to play this team hard. The Texans should be playing hard every week. They've never won. You don't get to take weeks off when you're the Houston Texans because you're a career losing franchise. You're not the Chiefs. You're not the Patriots. You're not the Packers. You're not even the Giants or the Steelers. And the Giants have been bad. We know that. Until you hold a Lombardi trophy, you don't take weeks off against bad teams. Soft teams take weeks off when they're not winners. The Texans are losers. They've always been losers. And now you're seeing, all right, they're soft. Barely beat the Colts and then lose to the Jets. This is what happens when you prepare soft for teams like the Patriots who should roll over. No,
I agree. I had to add the Texans to that because, I mean, after last night especially too, and I know you said we don't jump ahead, but to have a quarterback play that bad, even with those injuries, your team is still better. And they shouldn't be as bad as they're playing right now.
Yeah.
CJ, what do you have? Like 100, and I know we're going ahead. He had 100 yards or something last night, like 100 and something yards.
Yeah.
He's just not playing with the way they're supposed to. That sophomore slump might be real. I think you are right. Nailed it on the head.
Yeah, it's just to be a great team, right? Winning is the sign of a great team, and teams who are you're seeing the Chiefs this year who don't look like the Chiefs, and they're 7-0, right? They just keep winning. The Patriots for years, they would go through the regular season and they would have some bad losses, but they were the Patriots and they won when it mattered. Okay. So Houston now is a team that wins when it doesn't matter. And then in the playoffs, they can't get it done. So if you take a week off against a team as bad as the Patriots and you don't beat them up like you should, and you take those habits of practicing soft because you're playing a bad opponent, those carry over week to week. Now you're without your 2 top wide receivers, and it's just Tank Dell. And for some reason, people are still like high on John Mechie, like he's ever done anything. This is minus these 2 guys. What do you have? CJ Stroud needs to be really good at this point. He's not been really good.
Oh, I do gotta say, Joe Mixon, on the other hand,
has been good.
Has been real good. Like, he's not bad at all. I thought he was in a regression and he was just coming here to sign because Cincinnati didn't want him or trade. I think it was a trade, actually. It just didn't want him. And no, that was wrong. That guy's still balling out right now. So I can't Mixon, but that as a whole, the Texans, they just don't look right. And you could say injuries is killing Stroud's season, whatever you want to say. If you're a good quarterback, injuries don't matter. We've seen it with players that have no receivers and still win Super Bowls. So it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just not.
Yeah. We saw it here for years with Tom Brady. Tom Brady, when he had the best receiving core in the game, when he had Randy Moss, when he had Wes Welker, he didn't win a title. He won titles with guys like David Patton and Troy Brown. And there's something to be said for having great wide receivers, but a great quarterback can make good receivers great. There's guys like Randy Moss in the league, and it's tough to say Jerry Rice because he had Joe Montana and he had Steve Young, but Randy Moss is the perfect example of a wide receiver who makes someone look great. He got Dante Culpepper paid in Miami, right? Because you couldn't outthrow Randy Moss, and Randy Moss was a gazelle. He ran by guys. Dante Culpepper got paid because of that. CJ Stroud, you don't have those guys right now, so you have to be better and make those guys better. And you're not doing it with 100 and something yards passing against the fucking Jets, dude. Like, that's terrible.
That's awful. I know. I agree. I had to say that they completely dropped off my power rankings after last night and the week before. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I could see. I've been saying start Joe Flacco for the last 3 weeks in our thing. Why would they move from Flacco? I like Joe Flacco. I don't care if he's old. I sent you guys that video of the guy talk. You're gonna bench me for old man over here? I'm just gonna play football, man. He's here to
Yeah,
play football, and he just wants to have fun. That's what they need. Let's see what happens with them for the rest of the season.
I agree with you. And that's going to do it for our duds portion of this show. Make sure you comment on what we got right, what you think we got wrong. And all you and all you Cowboys fans out there, please take a shot at us and the Patriots. We know we stink. You guys think you're good, and that's the problem.
You have way more higher paid players than us.
Absolutely. So why don't we jump right into our power rankings after week 8? These are our post-week 8 power rankings. This has nothing to do with last night's game because if it did, it wouldn't make sense. But so post-week 8 power rankings, who's your number one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to go with Chiefs.
Chiefs Kingdom. Same for me. Travis Kelce finally woke up from his 7-week nap. 10 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. We'll see if that heavy lifting kicks him into gear or if he needs another nap and he goes to sleep for another 7. So this one just boils down to my logic. I can't unseat a team from the throne who keeps winning, albeit ugly at times. They still just continue to win. I may not even personally feel like they're the best team, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're the best team in the NFL right now, but that's needless to say. They're winning when it matters in crunch time.
Yeah.
Holmes don't look like himself, but if you're still winning games, you're still winning games. I mean, 7-0. That's all you need to say.
And probably the team that is better than them right now, number 2 in your power rankings?
Detroit Lions, baby.
What are those balloons? All right. Well, hey, I'll take the balloons.
It happens
Balloons,
baby.
Balloons for the Detroit Lions, because guess what? I have the Detroit Lions as well. Now, if I had told you that the Titans had 191 more total yards, they ran 24 more plays and held the ball for 11 more minutes than the Lions, you'd have think that was a formula to beat the Lions. 52-14. The Lions are so good.
They're so good. They're not even missing Hutchinson. They're literally so good all around. I don't care what anybody says. I want to see them win the Super Bowl, like you said. I want to see Detroit win. They deserve it. Dan Campbell deserves it. That team deserves it. That team is awesome.
I agree with you. As long as the Patriots don't go on a historic run right now, I'm rooting for Detroit as well. Patriots number 1, but I am rooting for the Detroit Lions. That's a long-suffering fan base, and that city just needs it as well. So Detroit's my number 2, and I have a strong feeling we both have Kansas City 1. We both have Detroit 2. I have a feeling we're going to have the same number 3. Who do you got?
I had a toss-up between the next 2. And I went with my gut here because they are more experienced. I went with Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Who was your other one?
The Commanders.
The Commanders. Okay.
I put Baltimore down at 5 just because they lost to the Browns. And that's mean of me, whatever anybody wants to say, but you lost to the fucking Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, with a backup quarterback. I picked Buffalo. Josh Allen is still playing great football. The team looks coming more alive.
Yeah.
I think the adding of Cooper is helping the other receivers. Just like I think with the Jets, Garrett Wilson, since Adams just came, has caught like 8 or 9 balls a game.
Yeah.
And it's taking heat off of him, which is making him. I mean, did you see that ridiculous catch last night?
Unreal.
Unreal. I think that having that star receiver come helps these young guys get more opportunities on that side of the ball. And I think Buffalo is still they're in I think one of the worst divisions in the NFL anyway, and they're going to be a long they're going to go all the way win the division no matter what happens this year. But yeah. Josh Allen is playing great football. 1 pick all season. That's what you needed.
Yeah, and he's been a turnover machine. And I'll say this. So I thought our power rankings would align. We had the Chiefs, we had the Lions. People are probably surprised to know this, that you and I and Steve, me and Steve have known each other for about 20 years. We just met you within the last year, probably 8 months ago or so. Is that fair to say? I would say we're almost all the way in line because we got the first two. Our third, I had the Buffalo Bills and the Commanders at 4. So we're right there because that's what I said. I wrote in mine specifically that it was between the Bills and the Commanders. And I picked the Bills because they beat the Seahawks. And I just think the Seahawks were better than anyone that who the Commanders beat. Why am I drawing the Bears right there? I think the Seahawks are better. The Bills jumped up because they were more dominant than the Commanders, in my opinion. The Seahawks were averaging 25.7 points per game until they ran into Buffalo. They could only manage 10. The Seahawks couldn't rush. Their passing game looked bad. Okay, offense fumbles 3 times. Geno Smith throws a pick. On the other side of the ball, Seahawks defense mirrored the offense. They gave up 445 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Josh Allen is so good right now. We are on the same page, my guy. Kansas City, Detroit, Buffalo with the Commanders in 4th. And I wanted to give it to the Commanders because that's another fan base that I really I like the fan base too. I think it's good, like having a good Buffalo Bills team, having a good Lions team, having a good Washington team makes for good football.
It does.
And as well, so since we have nothing different, why don't we go with the Patriots? Because that's what we always do on the show, because we are the Boston boys and we love our Patriots, despite the fact that we go on tirades about them. It's because we care and we love them. Where do you have the Patriots this week?
I bumped them up finally to 31.
31. Okay.
So now, and I say this because May looked like before he got thinking into the concussion protocol, May looked like he was going to have a monster game. And he literally looks like a kid that wants to just carry this team like a Josh Allen-esque. And I've said this before, McDaniels was on the Edelman podcast, not the one with him and Gronk, but on his other one. And he was saying he reminds him a lot of Josh Allen. And if we can get May to not throw picks like Allen did early in his career, I really think you got something here. And he's more athletic. He can get away. He had 46 yards rushing before he got hurt. 2 monster runs, and he had a rushing touchdown. He was 3 for 6 for like 47 yards. The kid's good. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Patriots fan and I want hope. I think this kid, after all the shit I talked about him in the draft and all this, maybe he needs to sit a year, all this, I think moving him to the starter was the right move. I think let him go play, like you said, let him play in the beginning of the year. No, I didn't think he needed the beginning of the year because Brissett got murdered in those first 4 games. Demolished. That would have maybe been a little bit different, but he is showing me that he is an okay quarterback. He has room to improve. We're not as the Panthers. And I don't care what anybody says. We're bad, but the Panthers are bad. They're back to Bryce Young, and he still can't throw the ball.
So I'm shocked you have them at 31. I had a really passionate speech last week, and I told you I'm not touching them until they show me. I got them at 28, believe it or not.
Holy shit.
I'm surprised you only went 31. I'm sure Steve would want to kill me right now, but I agree with you. Carolina's worse. They're in worse shape. I think Tennessee's worse. Tennessee, they have a quarterback battle right now between Mason Rudolph and Will Levis. I mean, talk about that. That's terrible. Neither one of those guys are NFL quarterbacks. Drake May, at least, is a prospect. Like Will Levis, this is 2 years later. He got benched basically for Mason Rudolph. So I think they're worse. You can't come out of that week and beat the Jets and put the Jets in front of them because the Jets are a mess. And the Jets are probably better. But after that week, I'm going to give it to the Patriots because they just beat them. And I think New Orleans is worse. I think I was spot on at the beginning of the year. I said they wouldn't win any games. They did win 2, but now the Patriots have won 2. And New Orleans looks like a mess right now. And now Carr's back. And it's like their future might be Spencer Rattler. I don't know if it is, but the future is not Carr. Derek Carr is, at this point, he's a journeyman older quarterback. He's a more talented Ryan Tannehill, maybe. I mean, it's just To me, Derek Carr at this point in his career, in his early career, far better than Tannehill, if you ask me. But
Oh, yeah.
right now, I don't think that Carr is anything special. I don't think he has a lot of miles left on him.
Agreed. I left him at 31 because you got into my head last week a lot after that rant, and that was amazing. It was beautiful to listen to, and it would hit everything right on the head. I couldn't move him up yet because I don't know if May's playing this week.
I don't know if he is, but I don't really need to. I don't need him to play for me to see that there's a future there. And I don't know how bright it is. I'm not going to sit here and tell people that Drake May's the answer and we got it right and now we're going to be good. But what I've seen of him, I did not think that he had this in him at 21 years old. He's going to get better as long as he keeps working hard. He's working hard. You can see the strides he's making. He's a guy, it looks like he knows when to bail out of the pocket. It looks like he knows where to throw it, when to throw it. It looks like he's making quick reads. I would love to get Steve's take on this. I know there's not a lot of tape on him, and I don't want to jump to conclusions and say he's great. We found the guy, but he's definitely better than I thought he was going to be. And for 21 years old, he looks really poised in NFL games.
He does, and I'm not upset with it, and I like it, and it's funner to watch. And the kid just wants to go play football, and he's always one of the first persons in the building, one of the last people out. He did have limited practice this week. At the end of the week, he's in the fourth stage of concussion protocol. He might end up starting this week.
Yeah, and you know, if you can sit him, I don't need to see more. You can sit him for another week. We're not a team that's making the playoffs. We'll jump into our Patriots talk now. Because we're already talking about them. I don't need to see more of him. If there's a chance he could have, I don't want him to be Tua. You know what? You've actually seen him in a couple NFL games right now, and this is better than seeing him in a preseason game. You're seeing him in actual competition. The kid has an arm. He can throw. He can make a 40-yard pass, right? He can actually, he's got some accuracy. He's got arm strength. He knows how he can move around. He's athletic. He gets out of the pocket. He extends plays. I don't need to see him this week. Even if he passes the concussion protocol, give him another week. I don't care because I don't want the Patriots to lose. I'm not a fan who wants the team to lose. I hate the idea of tanking, but at the same time, winning meaningless games also doesn't get you where you want to be. Because I'll say this. We talked about my passionate speech. I stand by that. The NFL has a shitload of awful teams right now. Okay. So, and that doesn't excuse the Patriots from being amongst them. That's why Elliott Wolf is terrible and Gerard Mayo is terrible. Okay. There's 13 teams in the NFL right now that have between 1 and 3 wins. So the Patriots, they happen to win another game or two. You could conceivably be towards the back half of the top 10 or even outside of the top 10. So I don't want to confuse this by saying they should tank and lose. But if there's any hint that this guy, he's on the fence, don't play him coming off a concussion. Give him another week.
Oh, no. And I feel you. I get it. I just, for product reasons, I like watching him better than Brissett. I wouldn't mind even getting later into the top 10 because the top tackle isn't even a top 3 pick this year coming out of the draft. He's from the kid from LSU. He's a 5 to 7 pick. If we can nail a tackle at 5 to 7 and get a good one, I wouldn't even hate it. I wouldn't be upset with it. So I'm not too worried about getting a number 1 pick and wasting it on a player that you don't know what's going to happen. I'd rather get an offensive lineman, like you said, to help the progression of May because he needs protection.
Absolutely.
But I would like to see him continue down this path for the rest of the season, improving, and it might show us something. He's playing with Van Pelt as his offensive coordinator, and he doesn't look bad. So that's how I feel about it. I am a Patriots fan through and through. I know we suck, everybody. I'm sorry, but I like what I see out of this kid because maybe it wasn't a wasted pick.
Yeah, there's optimism now with this team. And I know that if you watch our podcast, we've been super pessimistic at times. And you probably watch the podcast and maybe you even yell at your screen sometimes and think like, are you guys even Patriots fans? You know, because I know that Steve gets a lot of flack on X. But the thing is, we are passionate Patriots fans. I hate watching a team that sucks. It's been brutal to watch them week in and week out, and that's why we're angry fans. And maybe we're spoiled fans because we came from a lot of winning, but there was a lot of losing before that winning too. And young Patriots fans probably don't know that. They don't know what it was like. I even was talking to a guy at work. He even knows worse than me because he's in his 50s and he saw even worse Patriots teams. So I love the Patriots. I'm optimistic going forward now, seeing Drake May, but I don't put him in harm's way by having him play this week coming off a concussion if you don't have to. Again, I'm with you. I would rather not watch Jacoby Brissett ever play another snap again, but I want to protect the future. And right now, Drake May looks like he could be the future.
He does, and I'm not going to hate on Jacoby so bad either because he helped us win that game, even though the Jets suck.
Yeah,
but it was the fact that he still played great. Brissett held the game together, brought him down to win the game. I'll take it. I don't see Brissett winning against Tennessee as bad as they are like this week. But I do see May, if he played, I do see them potentially beating Tennessee.
Oh, I think so. And like I said, I had Tennessee. I have them in the 31 spot. I have Carolina and then Tennessee as the bottom two teams in this league. So I do think they can beat them. And definitely with May, I still think they can beat them with Brissett. I think Tennessee's that poor, although Tennessee plays some halfway decent defense. So I do also want to mention, because of the Jets, I'm sure you've seen the meme or the TikTok or the Facebook. The Jets, with that all-time historical losing performance, scored over 20 points, did not have a turnover, allowed less than 250 yards. Teams were 750 wins and no losses when posting that line, and the Jets become the first team ever to lose posting that line. That is the most Jets thing to happen since the butt fumble.
Agreed.
that team, I mean, someone, I saw a TikTok that said, a big conspiracy theory. Aaron Rodgers, who avoided taking the COVID shot and was very outspoken about not wanting it and it being wrong. And then he goes to the team where the owner is the owner of Johnson & Johnson, who provided. Did he do it to tear the Jets down even more? That's the little funny conspiracy with it.
Crazy stat line, crazy stuff going on this season. And the Jets still suck. So it's still a normal season in some ways.
All right. Well, listen, I told you that I had come up with a couple trades.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Is it okay?
Oh, okay. So 7 to be exact. I want to know what you think. This is me putting my GM hat on, and 7 NFL trades that I would like to see before Tuesday. You can tell me yes, no, or I'm out of my mind and it would never happen. And I will give you my entire write-up, and then I will let you have your say in it. So the first one for me is I'm the New York Giants. My call is to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I see if I can swap Daniel Jones and a draft pick for Trevor Lawrence. And I know this one seems really unlikely because in the NFL, not many quarterbacks get moved midseason, but this would allow the Giants to move on from that Daniel Jones contract, which pays them $76.5 million over the next 2 seasons, which Trevor Lawrence only makes $21 million from 2025 to 2028. Now, the downside of this is if Lawrence continues his mediocre play, he's owed $50 million in 2029 and $53 million in 2030. But I like the idea of the Giants taking a chance on Trevor Lawrence mixed with Malik Neighbors.
I like it. Do I agree it's going to happen? I don't think it. I know this is a trade scenario. I don't think that it's going to happen. I think they're going to go with Daniel Jones for the rest of the season, and they're going to go draft a quarterback in the draft. I think that's what's going to happen. I would love to see that happen because I think that Trevor Lawrence going with Brian Daboll would be a better fit for him than where he's at right now, especially with Malik Neighbors. But I don't see it happening.
I don't see it. I want to be clear. I don't see these trades happening. These are trades that if I were the GM, I would make.
Yeah. That you would try. Yeah.
Um,
No, I don't see it. I don't see the Giants making the trade for that. I think you are a better GM than the Giants GM.
I
But
appreciate that.
but that's I don't see them making a call for a quarterback.
Fair enough. All right. Trade number 2. I'm the Houston Texans. I'm calling the Las Vegas Raiders, and I want to see what it takes to get Jacoby Myers. The Raiders are in a permanent rebuild, it seems like, since 2000. Okay. A 4th-round pick that could become a 3rd-round pick, depending on Jacoby Myers' performance, I think is a fair deal. And with Collins and Diggs out for the remainder of the season, Myers to Houston, for me, feels like a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer, and I would love to see that trade happen.
All right. Well, listen, and I'm 2 for 2 on things you would like to see happen, 1 for 2 on things you think could happen. All right. Number 3. Since the Jaguars are already in rebuild mode, now I'm the Los Angeles Rams. I'm calling the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm making a deal for Evan Engram. Okay. Sean McVay and that front office, they've never been shy about building a team through trading their draft picks. Engram's coming off a season in which he caught 114 balls. Okay. He's averaging 5 receptions, 44 yards per game this season. That's an upgrade from Colby Parkinson. And I feel like adding Engram to an offense with Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, and Kyron Williams, it feels like a recipe for success. Don't know what it would take to get him. Thinking maybe a 3rd-round pick, possibly a 4. He's had injury concerns. He's only played 4 games this season, but the Rams right now are in a good position to go after that division. Why not add a tight end to help out Matt Stafford?
That's a perfect trade scenario for the Rams. If they get Evan Engram, they could possibly come back and win that division.
All right. So
I agree, and I would be on the forefront of the Rams calling and giving a draft pick up for him.
all right. Well, then we're doing good so far. All right. And this one's a big one for us. My next 4 are big ones. The Baltimore Ravens. I'm the GM of the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, believe it or not, have the worst pass defense in football right now. They give up the most passing yards in a game. I'm calling the Seattle Seahawks. Okay. And I'm asking for a fair price for Tariq Woolen. All right. The cornerback out there. Woolen has 1 more year on his rookie deal. The Ravens desperately need help in their secondary. They give up the most passing yards. Like I said, Woolen is 6'4", 210 pounds. He just feels like a good physical fit for the Ravens. It's going to be a tough ask for them. You're probably parting ways with a 2nd-round pick. But that to me feels like it could happen. I just feel like, and you'll see as I go further, I don't love what the Seahawks are doing, and I don't think they have a chance at the playoffs. They're a middling team.
Agreed. They should be high sellers. Draft picks will help them. They need to draft a quarterback. They need to draft a couple other positions. It sucks because you said it's a 2nd-round pick, and that's tough for any team to give up, especially coming off a rookie deal and you don't know what you're going to have to pay the kid. Do I do it as a Ravens GM? Fuck yeah, I make that phone call.
All right. Well, then that's good. This one we squabbled over, and I want people to know that I did these draft picks on Wednesday. I mean, these trades on Wednesday. So this is nothing that I've seen today. And Kiefer can attest to this because I actually sent it to him. I sent him my notes so he could see that I already had this. Dallas Cowboys, and as I've mentioned, they are atrocious. They should be embarrassed by that run game, which is why Jerry Jones should be on the phone with Cleveland asking about Nick Chubb. He's in the final year of his contract. He's coming off knee surgery. Cleveland should be rebuilding. Cowboys need a shot of life. Seems like a low-risk, high-reward move, depending on the price, but it's Cleveland. If you can't fleece Cleveland, you should not be a GM. This shouldn't take more than a 5th-round pick.
This is a no for me. And then this is a no for the Cowboys, and this is a no for the Browns. And I'm going to tell you why. Bad offensive line, coming off an injury. It hasn't looked great in his first 2 games. Rust, 2 games out for a long time. I understand that. Cleveland might have something with Jameis Winston. That division is not out of the realm right now with how Cincinnati's playing, with how Baltimore losing last week. and the Steelers are just the Steelers. They're 6-2. Um, if they go on a run, this division could be a lot like one in the NFC with the Bears and all them, with a bunch of teams making the playoffs. Cincinnati doesn't look like a team that's going to make the playoffs. Like we talked about, we said they could win these games with that, but they still don't look great. Their defense is awful. I don't think that it is a smart move for the Browns at this point to trade Chubb because Ford has not played the way he has, and he's been out the last 2 games.
All right, fair enough. All right, in my last 2 trades, these are ones I want to have happen. We've talked a lot about Max Crosby. You love him going to Detroit. I did not pick Detroit. I did not. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm calling the Vegas Raiders about Max Crosby, sorry. He's too good to waste his career in Las Vegas. The Raiders stink. The Bills offer Gregory Rousseau and a pick or 2, and I'd start lowballing them. I'd give them a 3rd and a 4th. I'd argue Rousseau was a first-round pick. He rarely misses games, rushes the quarterback well. He's cheap, club option next season. If the Raiders were insistent, I'd give up a 2nd and a 5th. If they outright pushed, I would give up I'd part with a 1st. Listen, the Bills' window is getting smaller, okay? And if they insist on keeping a defensive head coach, then you might want to get one of the best defensive players in the NFL.
I love that trade scenario. I want him to go to Detroit just because I want to see Detroit, keep going on that route. But that's a fantastic trade and a fantastic thing to go for. Crosby to Buffalo, I think he fits in Buffalo. Like fits in like as persona. I think it's great. I love that trade. If it happens, pats on the back for you for calling it because fantastic idea.
All right. Yeah, that was one of my big ones. And my other big one. This is my other. These were the 2 I really want to see happen. Washington Commanders. Okay. Call Seattle. Convince them that they're nothing more than a middling team. You talk to them, you tell them you're 7-10, you're 8-9, you're 9-8 at best. You're not better than San Francisco. You're not better than Arizona, who's kind of on the rise right now. And you're definitely not better than LA, right? 9-8 at best is purgatory for the NFL. You're fighting for a wild card spot. If you get in, you get beat by one of the big teams and you end up in the middle of the first round. Okay. And I'm telling them you're in a rebuild. You can have any receiver on my roster except for Terry McLaurin. And I'm going to pony up a 1st round overall pick or a charcuterie board of 2nd and 3rd day picks, day 2 and 3 picks. I want DK Metcalf. I love what the Commanders are doing. Why not expedite that process by giving Jaden Daniels DK Metcalf with Terry McLaurin?
So DK Metcalf, I heard, doesn't already want to be in Seattle. And this was at the beginning of the year. We said this. We were saying this, talking about it. He does not want to be there, does not want to play there anymore. He was going to leave regardless. Yeah, might as well get something for him. That to the Commanders, fantastic trade. If they land DK Metcalf, that team is winning that division, hands down. No matter what Philly does, they're going to win it outright, no questions asked.
Those were my big 2. I want Crosby to Buffalo and DK Metcalf to Washington. I love what Washington's done.
Those were your best ones, like that. Those are legit ones that they should be calling for as a GM.
Well, listen, if Washington wants to, I know they just hired a new GM. I will be the assistant GM. Buffalo, I'll gladly move to upstate New York and I will build a winner. I want to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo. Fans, Eli Horrigan for GM. I will bring Max Crosby to you. So those are my trades. We have Max Crosby to Buffalo. We have DK Metcalf going to Washington. The Vegas Raiders part with Jacoby Myers and send him to Houston. The Los Angeles Rams get Evan Ingram. Baltimore gets Tariq Woolen. Nick Chubb to Dallas, and Trevor Lawrence ends up in New York. See if he can be anything more than just a what-if story. Those are my ideas for trades. Tell us in the comments what you think of them. Beard, you liked some, you didn't like some.
I didn't like some, but so it's not that some of them are just like, I don't think it can happen because of the potential of who the quarterbacks could be or whatever. But those last 2, literally, if they got those, you could see Buffalo versus I mean, I won't say Commanders making the Super Bowl, but If they played like this the rest of the season, you could see a run from the Commanders going to the NFC Championship game. But
Sure.
those are two big, big moves to make a Super Bowl. And they already went and got Cooper in Buffalo. So you know they're working on they want to make that step. And Josh Allen playing like this, he deserves it. Make the trades. Let's get them done, because I might be a Pats fan, but I wouldn't mind seeing Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Well, at this point, right, we know what the Patriots are. We're optimistic about where they're going, but we know they're not going far. So now I just want to watch good football, right? I love when I see a Sunday night game that captivates me and I want to watch it. I love when there's 1 o'clock games on TV. If the Pats are not playing or if they're on at 4, I love seeing the London games. I want to see good football at this point. The Patriots don't give us great football. Still love them. Still going to watch them, but yeah, if Buffalo can get better, like I said, half the league is bad. I mean, 13 teams have 1 win, 2 wins, or 3 wins. So yeah, let's let the big dogs eat. Just keep getting better. Let those big teams get better. And I want to see those clash of the Titans when it comes playoff time, because I don't want to watch. Remember that year that Pittsburgh snuck in and you have Ben Roethlisberger in his advanced age. It looked like he was throwing water jugs around the field. He was just terrible. It's like, I don't want to watch that for a playoff game. I want to watch a team like Buffalo and Kansas City play and Baltimore play. I want to see a good LA Rams team and a good San Francisco, a healthy San Francisco play, right? I want to see Detroit beating up teams. So in Washington, like, these are really good young teams. That's what I'm looking for.
No, I look for it too. And like I said, make those trades. Listen to the king over here. Make the trades. Get those 2 trades done. Let's
Somebody watching this, please reach out to your local team and let them know that I have the answers to make your team a contender. If they'll just hire me and Beard will come by. We'll be advisors. It won't cost you much. We're just 6-figure salary guys. That's all we want to do, right? I don't even need 7 at this point. Give me 6.
Give me 6. I'm good with it.
All right. That's all I have for NFL talk. What about you, Beard?
That's all I got for NFL. Like I said, hopefully the Chiefs lose soon so I can throw Detroit in that number 1 spot, because I think Detroit really deserves to be the best team in the NFL right now.
I agree with you, but I will not knock them off on principle. So why don't we do some quick Celtics talk, because we are approaching that 1 hour mark where we like to try to not go too far over. Celtics 4-1 right now. They're playing Charlotte 82-74 still.
82-74.
82-74 right now. They're coming off their first loss, in which, boy, I really wanted them to win. When they made that comeback, they're going to overtime. I thought there's no way they're going to lose, and they end up losing. Celtics are just so good. They're just so good. I don't care about these losses. They're so good.
Well, you said it. They're not going to shoot lights out every night. They're not going to do it. And that game, they didn't shoot lights out. I think Tatum was like 4 for 13 or something like that from 3.
Yeah.
Brown was 1 for like 11, whatever it was. It just,
yeah.
They're averaging 125 points a game when their opponents are averaging 114.
Yeah.
It's just, you're looking at it, and which one of you sent me that video the other day with Pritchard? Pritchard dropped, this isn't fair. Pritchard drops 20.
Oh, that was me. Yeah.
I told you, Pritchard, man, 28 minutes a game, 16, 3, and 2.
Yeah.
He looks like a legit 6-man, buddy.
But I mean, even though they didn't have great shooting nights against Indiana, they still shot their way right back into that game. Like, at any time this team can get hot, and then they're right back in it, and they almost beat them. And realistically, I'm surprised they didn't, because when momentum turns like that, you saw when they did it to Indiana in the postseason last year, when Brown hits that miracle 3, and then they end up going to, that's a game they should have lost. Indiana, a couple bonehead turnovers at the end of the game, which allows them to hit that 3, and then they go on to win. It kind of felt like that game again.
I know it did. And they came back. Tatum showed his grit. And you remember that killer instinct you were talking about? Like, is he going to be, I don't know if you said killer. What was the word you used last week? About talking about Tatum. You said about him being more aggressive, more like a bunch of other. If he's going to be more mean on the court and
Oh yeah, be an asshole. That was his dad's comment.
yeah, be an asshole. He is showing that he's here to ball. He's going to have a bad game here and there. It's going to happen. But listen, he's dropping 37-5.
The guy's he's a stud.
He's a stud. And I said it in the beginning, right at the beginning of the season before the first game. He's my MVP front runner. And if this team wins 65, 68, 70 games, which I still see happening even after that loss the other night, him and Brown's averaging 25, 7, and 3. They just play. And then you add Porzingis coming back. This team is legit. They're going to win games.
Not only are they legit, right? I think Boston fans, they call us green teamers for a reason, right? Because we fall in love with Boston players like Marcus Smart. We fall in love with these guys. Nehemiah Queta, is that how you say his name? I could be butchering it. He's their 7-foot backup center. In that game against Indiana, he's a plus 18 on the bench. That's a guy who's making a difference on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't have Kristaps Porzingis right now, but you have these guys, Luke Cornett, who plays pretty well. You got Peyton Pritchard off the bench. You still have Sam Hauser there. You know what I mean? Jordan Walsh is playing minutes in games, but this Queta, right, is a second-round pick, plus 18. Those are good numbers. When he's on the floor, good things are happening. You know, not that he's a superstar, but he's a 7-foot center that sits on your bench. He played 14 minutes in that game, and he's a plus 18.
Yeah, and you see Jordan Walsh, like I said, his shooting has gotten better. He had a little bit of off game the other night, but he's actually shooting the ball, and he's great. He's a great defender. That's why they got him. He was a defender coming out of the draft, and they were going to work on everything else. He's put in the work. This team is complete, like really complete. I mean, I don't see a team as deep as them anywhere in the league right now.
Yeah, and like we said before, you know, we were all hopped up saying, "Oh, I don't see them losing at least for the first 10 games." They did. They lost. They're 4-1. They're not going undefeated. This is the NBA. There's 82 games. They're not going undefeated. But there's no reason that this team can't win 65 games to 70 games, somewhere in that. Like, they're that good. They're that deep. They're going to have off nights, but even still, on their off nights, you see what they can do. They were off against Indiana, and they still shot their way back into that game and almost won. This is a dangerous team. If you're in the NBA, you do have to watch this team and fear them.
Oh, you have to fear them. You can't go into a game and play soft against them. You just can't.
Well, especially after, did you see last night the Milwaukee Bucks? Did you see Lillard's shooting?
Oh my God.
I mean, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, right? And Damian Lillard does that against the Celtics. That's the reason you have Damian Lillard, right? To compete against a team like the Celtics. And he goes out and he absolutely throws up a stinker against the Grizzlies.
Against the Grizzlies. And, you know, I'm not going to talk shit about John Morant because he had a triple-double last night.
Yeah.
But switching to Doc Rivers after that, their head coach that they fired last year was actually coaching well.
Yeah.
Was the stupidest thing they could have did.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not smart, and I'm not scared from anybody in the East. I'm really not. I'm not scared of any team.
No, the Doc Rivers move. Doc Rivers, I love Doc. He was here for a title, so he holds a place in my book. I don't think Doc Rivers is the right coach for this team. He was the right coach for the 3 superstars who came to Boston, who all said, "We want to win a title. We don't care about stats." I don't think he's the right guy to have Giannis and Damian Lillard. It just doesn't feel like a mix. He's a very overrated coach.
No, he is right now. And again, I'll hold a place in my heart for bringing that championship, but he is not the right fit for that team. He's not. You should have never fired. I can't remember who was the coach last year. What was his name?
It wasn't Budenholzer. He's the one who won with them, correct?
Yeah, he was the one who won. Was it Gentry?
I'll look it up real quick. But I know, yeah.
Yeah, his record wasn't bad. He was just
they were in first place.
They were having problems with the players.
Yeah,
That's what it was about. And you get rid of him, and you get Doc Rivers, who hasn't. I don't want to say it in a mean way, but he has an ancient basketball mind right now.
Adrian Griffin was the name.
There it goes, Griffin. Okay, there we go. He he has an ancient basketball mind for a team that has Giannis and Dame. He's not a good fit for that team, and he's not a good coach for that team.
So Adrian Griffin for them, I have it up right now, was 30-13 as the head coach. Doc Rivers is 17-19.
Yeah, awful.
So, I mean, that just a really, really bad move by Milwaukee. I saw something today that said Giannis might force his way out of Milwaukee, and there's a thought that he might want to join the Heat and join Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler there to form their big three.
Well, that's not a bad trade scenario because Eric Spoelstra he's a good coach.
I think Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right now.
Yeah, and Steve has been adamant on saying it, even though he hates the Heat and he hates the Heat fans. He's a great coach, and I think having Giannis come to that team would be a great fit for him to play with a coach like that.
Yes.
I don't know if Milwaukee's willing to give him up is the problem.
I would have a hard time feeling, but if he forces his way out and you have to get something for him, but then if you're Damian Lillard, right, this is just Portland part 2, right? Milwaukee, just another small market who's not going to compete. The whole reason for going there was he wanted to create a super team. What happens to Dame? If you're Milwaukee and Giannis is going to force his way out, you might as well go get maybe Hero and maybe some picks. I don't know who else you want on that Miami roster that's not Adebayo and not Jimmy Butler. But if you have these two mega trade bait like Giannis and Damian Lillard yet, and they both don't want to be there at this point, you have to go to a rebuild. You fire Doc Rivers, you bring in a young coach, you trade these guys off for picks and maybe some young talented guys. I'll use Cade Cunningham as an example because I'm a big Cade Cunningham fan. They're not going to get him there, but a young guy like that in the league who you really like and you think could make a difference on your team.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Damian Lillard, he has options. Teams will want to get him.
Absolutely. And do you have anything more on the Celtics NBA? I'm going to start wrapping it up just because we are kind of at over that hour mark. And
I'm good on Celtics talk. Bruins, thanks for getting my hopes up so far this year. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely stink.
It's just I don't even want to talk about them right now because it's like talking about the Patriots and the Red Sox. So
the only thing we'll go in our final words right now. My final word will be about the Bruins. Then the Bruins front office needs to decide if Jim Montgomery needs to be fired and they think a new coach will get a shot of life in this team and they can start winning, or do they start selling players and having a rebuild for the future with Montgomery or without him, whatever they want to do. But they have to pick a lane right now. The two of them, the players and Jim Montgomery, just not working right now. And they need to figure out, is it salvageable this season, or do we need to move on from either Montgomery or players? That's my final word.
Fire them.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for us, the Boston Boys Sports Podcast. Again, I am your host, the King, Eli Horrigan, and the best beard in the business, Kiefer Bontos. We are partnered with Jones & for Sports. We make sports better. Like I said, check them out on X, check them out on Instagram, check them out on YouTube. They are putting out great quality content every single day. Also, check us out at Hub Boys Sports on X and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what we got right in studs. Tell us what we got right in duds. Let us know if any of those trades seem likely to you or if you like them. Beard, final word. What do we got?
Miss you, Stevie Stats. Hope you come back soon, buddy.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that sentiment more. Guys, take it easy. We will see you again next week.
Always.